All right, welcome to how to produce a YouTube video. So, hopefully you are happy about this because I'm really tired and I'm not putting any editing into this little clip. All right, now I'm in my office chair. I'm gonna flip this around. Okay, as you can see right there in the corner, or maybe you can't see, it's 6 o'clock. I've literally been up all night. Now that's partially my fault. I did wake up very late. But the first thing you do in video production is research. Now, you don't always have to do this, but it's helpful, especially if you're making like a, response video, which is what I'm working on currently. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to break it up into different parts or if I'm going to have it all as like a one really long video, but it's getting pretty long right now. For research purposes, like I broke down the entire structure of the video. Like this is one tangent, he breaks off to a second tangent, goes on another tangent, and then he jumps back over to his other tangent and keeps going and going and going. Mind you, there's actually this whole bit right here is actually an entire another section. I just don't have the geometry of the dice to make it make sense. But then after you have all your research done and you make sure you keep yourself in homeostasis by consuming food, you go to part two, which is figuring out the introduction. And the reason why is because the first 40 seconds or so of your video is the most important part. You need people to be invested in your video. So you have to make it interesting and compelling right in that first little bit. People's attention spans are a lot shorter on YouTube than they are elsewhere, but if you make it compelling enough, then they'll sit down for 20 minutes just to watch your video, even if it's not interesting for the rest of it that much, as long as the first bit's interesting, and maybe along the way you have a little extra things to keep them attentive. Now, I'm going to try making sure that my video is as compelling as possible because I'm putting way more effort into this than I have on anything else in my channel thus far. And there's actually a reason for that, and it's because my most viewed video I've ever created was on a channel that I made when I was 13, and I posted this video when I was about 15. Now I was just looking back at all the videos I made on different channels that I tried throughout my life, and I found that one, and I realized it's got 7 times the views of my most viewed video. I was like, that's ridiculous, and it's not the production is terrible, but the structure is really good for a YouTube video because it keeps people attentive. So that's why I'm putting way more effort into these new videos. And this one that I'm posting, this one has 0 effort into it. I'm just posting it because I want to put something out because this is going to take a while. I don't know if it'll be done by Friday. Maybe it will, hopefully. And obviously the next thing is structuring, which I already stated earlier, but basically you got to make an outline for your video. And the next step is to create your assets, your audio, your images and background. But you can, and then you start assembling. And sometimes I kind of mix in those 2 steps at the same time. And the last 2 steps are just you got to restructure it with sound. Some people call this sound design, but sound design is sort of secondary. But literally, I will delete entire sections of audio and replace them with just sound because, well, sometimes you saying things is less compelling than just showing people stuff with the right emotional atmosphere. And the way you convey emotion in videos through sound. And sometimes maybe it's important to have like the audio at different times if you're going to put sounds at certain times. And so once I decide to put the sounds in, based off of what sort of narrative I want to be giving, then I will restructure the video in relation to the sound. And then the final step is posting it, which actually does take quite a bit of time. You have to make a thumbnail, which you probably should have already done earlier, or at least have something in your mind. When you're making the video, you need to have at least something in mind when you're making your thumbnail. And then you also need to say, you may link it to other people, like you got to distribute it basically. And on top of distribution, in your description, you have to write all the links to any, maybe it's affiliates, or if it's like you're using sound, or if you have certain agreements to link to other people's content because you use some of theirs, you gotta do all that stuff. And like in total, posting actually does take a fair amount of time, not very long in comparison to everything else you have to do, but it does take a bit of time. This is my video for this think I'm going to post it today. Yeah. All right. Auf Wiedersehen.